What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, here with my WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage Grand Slam review from September 23rd, 2022. We got a lot of things to cover right here on the review. Of course, we got to talk about SmackDown. I actually thought SmackDown this week was a pretty decent show. That opening segment was amazing. Let's be 100% real here. Of course, we also have AEW Rampage Grand Slam. It was a 2-hour episode of Rampage, just like last year when they did Grand Slam Rampage for the first time. So, in total, we had 4 hours of wrestling this Friday night. It was a lot of wrestling. Most of it was good. Some of it I just kind of felt like, oh my God, this is too much. But overall, I thought both shows knocked it out of the park. But before I get on with all of this craziness regarding both SmackDown and Rampage, make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Wrestle Havoc podcast is also available on audio platforms. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the Wrestle Havoc podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Also, my AEW Dynamite Grand Slam review is also up on the channel. So if you guys want to check out the Grand Slam review, I talk about a lot of things. Of course, I talk about Moxley versus Danielson. I talk about Jericho winning the ROH World title and when MJF is going to be taking the World Championship. So I definitely would give the AEW Dynamite Grand Slam review a check out. But let's talk about SmackDown. Of course, SmackDown this week was actually a pretty good show. Of course, we are currently on the road to Extreme Rules, and definitely WWE is hyping up the ante, if that is a word, for Extreme Rules, because they're actually adding a bunch of stipulations for their Extreme Rules card. We have a strap match now between Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre, which is awesome, by the way. I'm actually really excited for that. Of course, we have the Extreme Rules match between Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey as well. So they're definitely upping the ante when it comes to Extreme Rules. They're finally putting the word extreme into Extreme Rules, because that was something that Vince McMahon's team absolutely did not give a single shit about. Because if you guys do not remember, last year, Extreme Rules, they had the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and realistically there was nothing extreme about that show at all. But it's going to be in Philadelphia this year, so hopefully they actually, do some great stuff with that pay-per-view. But let's start off with the Bloodline. Yes, Roman Reigns makes his triumphant return since Clash at the Castle. Of course, at Clash at the Castle, you guys know the story. Solo Sikoa made his debut and cost Drew McIntyre the WWE Undisputed title, which led to Roman Reigns retaining the title. And the reign continues for our Tribal Chief. So the Bloodline kicks off SmackDown. Paul Heyman, as usual, gives Roman the microphone. Roman has the microphone, and he tells Salt Lake City to acknowledge him. After that, Heyman gets the microphone and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Paul Heyman. You guys already know where this is going." He asks the Bloodline what he calls the people of Utah. They all don't know. He basically calls the entire city Salt Lake Cityans, if that makes any sense, followed by a sea of boos. Paul Heyman says they do not boo the wise man. There's a lot of items in the Bloodline's checklist. Number 1, we notice, and still undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns. And here, everybody is saying, oh, but it was Drew's moment, and Paul Heyman goes, After that, Heyman then states, anywhere where people consider it's Drew's home turf, Roman Reigns basically runs the whole universe. Now that Drew has another bridge to cross, Heyman states, let's all talk about Solo Sikoa. He talks about how Solo Sikoa wasn't Roman's idea. It wasn't Sammy's idea. The idea for Solo is that Solo was sent by his elders of the Samoan dynasty. He was sent because Brock Lesnar took out the wise man, and the Usos have a lot on the table. Someone needs to stop these conspiracies on Roman Reigns, and if we thought the Bloodline was unstoppable, now there is an enforcer, and that enforcer is Solo Sikoa, which opens up Jimmy and Jey Uso to promote their history and greatness, and it opens up their pursuit to immortality. Then Jimmy and Jay proceed to cut a promo, and they talk about how they are still the WWE Tag Team Champions. Jay says that the Brutes are the twos and they the ones. After that, Roman, your tribal chief, gets the microphone. Roman says he calls out Solo and says the elders may have sent him here, but he answers to him now. And he tells Solo to acknowledge him. And Solo replies he acknowledges him, his tribal chief, and then after that he hugs Roman Reigns. So Solo Sikoa is now officially a new member of the Bloodline after he acknowledges your tribal chief, the head of the table, the undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns. So it looks like the segment would end, and this is where the stuff gets really good. Sammy proceeds to interrupt. So Sammy interrupts. As soon as Roman's music hits, they're about to leave. Sammy interrupts. So then Sammy states that all he wants to say is that he's not technically blood, but the way that they have taken the end, he wanted to show his gratitude and also publicly acknowledge the tribal chief. Roman has this funny look on his face, and this is where the shit gets really good. So he gets the mic and he has this funny-ass look on his face. The crowd proceeds to chant, Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. Roman says that he likes him. But what is he talking about right now? Why is he saying anything right now? He gets it. But why does he have his shirt on? He asks him, what is going on? Why is he tagging along this whole thing? He asks him what he wants. He will tell him what he wants. He wants him to take that shirt off. And, once Roman tells Sami Zayn to take that shirt off, Jey Uso on the side, of course, for the past couple of weeks, Jey Uso doesn't like the fact that Sami Zayn is a quote-unquote honorary use of the bloodline. Jimmy is fine with it, and Solo is totally fine with it, especially from the way he acted the past couple of weeks, and especially last week because of the fact that Solo told Jay in Gorilla, hey, you was off your game today, and then he calls Sammy to join him in his match. But Jay looks so pissed off. So then Sammy says he doesn't know if he's kidding, but he mentions last week with Logan Paul and all that stuff. Roman says that he's not going to tell him again. He should take that shirt off now. And then Jay, with the furious look on his face, rips the shirt off of Sami Zayn. Roman then says he needs him to listen. He will never wear that bloodline shirt ever again. Because, and at this point, you're like, oh my God, oh shit, they're going to do some bullshit to Sami Zayn. Because he got him a new one. He throws a new shirt to Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn changes from, oh shit, I'm fucked, to, oh my God, thank God. And he opens the shirt, and the shirt says Honorary Uce. And what happens is he gets so excited, he does the handshake with Jimmy Uso, and after that, he says that he acknowledges the tribal chief, and then he hugs Roman Reigns. Jey Uso, when it looked like he was going to beat the shit out of Sami Zayn, Jey Uso instead was like, bro, this dude really tricked me. And you can tell by the look on his face. So what are my thoughts on this segment? This segment, and I tweeted this out as soon as it ended. This segment right here is the pure definition of pro wrestling TV gold. That's what it basically was. And WWE made the right decision to basically keep Sami Zayn a part of the bloodline as the honorary use. I feel like this is a situation in which they took, in a way, if you think about it, it's a stupid scenario because why the hell would Sami Zayn be a part of the bloodline? It's such a dumb idea. On paper, it's a very dumb idea, but they turn this whole bad idea into something that could really go long term. And they have been doing that for the past couple of weeks, of course, with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens basically calling out Sami Zayn saying, dude, what the hell are you doing? And look, Sami Zayn is now going to be a part of the bloodline for it looks like the foreseeable future, but I definitely do see them having a plan in which Sami Zayn gets kicked out of the bloodline or the bloodline actually turns on Sami Zayn. And my best bet is they're going to do it at Survivor Series because if you guys do not know, which you guys should know already, Survivor Series is going to involve the War Games match, and my prediction for the War Games match is going to be, in my opinion, Team Bloodline versus Team WWE, and it's going to be 5-on-5. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be the exact same formula as War Games was in NXT. So I definitely do see somewhat of a scenario in which, the Bloodline eventually turn on Sami Zayn, which would then lead to Kevin Owens coming in, and then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens eventually reuniting, and then they go after the Bloodline. That's what I see that's what I definitely see happening. But again, man, this whole storyline involving Sami Zayn, Jey Uso being pissed off, and Roman Reigns having basically Sami Zayn's blessing to be a part of the Bloodline and being the Honorary Uce. It's a fantastic storyline, and it's one of the best things WWE is doing now. This is literally one of the best things that Triple H has done ever since he has taken over of creative, in my opinion. But this whole segment was pro wrestling TV gold. It just was. But after that, we got Liv Morgan versus Lacey Evans in our first match of the evening. Overall thoughts on this match. It was a short match, relatively short match. Lacey Evans actually got a lot of offense in this match, which was very weird. I'm not really the biggest fan of Lacey Evans, in my opinion. I think she's not really that good. That's just my opinion, though. I'm not the biggest fan of Lacey Evans. But we got Liv Morgan versus Lacey Evans. Again, Evans got a lot of offense. Lacey shoves the face of Liv Morgan. Liv then slaps her. We got a takedown by Lacey, followed by a body shot. Liv then runs into a big boot by Lacey Evans. At this point, Lacey is in control. She takes Liv headfirst onto the turnbuckle. We get a drop kick by Liv, taking Evans to the corner. She sends Lacey into the corner. She then goes for the running kick. After that, Liv runs into the corner, but then Lacey sweeps the leg of Liv Morgan. We get a takedown by Lacey, but then applies the side headlock. After that, Liv is on the apron, and then Lacey takes Liv headfirst onto the ring post. Once we're back from commercial break, Lacey is in control. She hits repeated rights on Liv Morgan. Liv then screams at Lacey Evans after that, but then Morgan takes her out with a big boot. Morgan then proceeds to go for a takedown. Evans with the head scissors, but then Morgan fights back with the boot to the face of Evans. Lacey then goes to the outside, but then Lacey takes out it looks like a broom, followed by a kendo stick. After that, Lacey swings it, but then Morgan fires back with a code breaker. After that, she manages to hit the Oblivion cover, 1, 2, 3, and Liv Morgan wins the match. And then Liv Morgan takes the kendo stick, but drops it. And it looks like she was going to leave the ring, but what happens? She picks it back up and hits the kendo stick repeatedly on Lacey Evans, or I should say hits Lacey Evans using the kendo stick repeatedly. She then goes for the White Russian leg sweep on Evans onto the barricade. She screams at Lacey Evans, "You think I can't be extreme? You can't, this is the common thing that WWE does all the time, and I'm not really a fan of it because, I don't know, it just kind of, to me, it's kind of corny, but, they always do this. I can remember, I think it was an Alexa Bliss and Bayley feud that they did. I think it was back in 2017 where Bayley, can't get extreme. It's so it's dumb stuff like that. It's very cheesy, and I don't like it, especially when they constantly use the word extreme for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. I mean, let the action speak the words. You don't have to speak the words. Let the action, speak for the words. That's just my view. But, whenever a wrestler says, I can get extreme for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, to me, that's just super cringe. But, man, she manages to hit the White Russian leg sweep on Evans onto the barricade using the kendo stick, of course. Then she takes out a table from under the ring. She sets up the table, and then Lacey is, of course, on the table. Then she goes to the top rope, and she manages to hit a senton on Lacey through the table. So it looks like Liv Morgan is ready for Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules because they will be wrestling in Philadelphia in an Extreme Rules match. So overall, realistically, they wanted to make Liv Morgan look strong in this match, but let's be honest right here. I think they're gonna have Ronda Rousey win the championship because, let's be honest, are you really that into Liv Morgan as champion? No disrespect to Liv Morgan. I think she's absolutely fantastic, but right now I don't think it's the best time for her to be champion. I take my words back. Maybe I think it was, but at the same time, I don't think she has been a really good champion. I don't like the way she was. I'm not really. To me, she's just not that believable. That's just my opinion. She's not that believable. No disrespect at all, because I know the IWC would be absolutely crazy. Hit Row Backstage, and they talk about their tag team the tag team main event between the Brawling Brutes and the Street Profits. They give each other a toast. Then the Street Profits enter the fray, and then after that, of course, Shinsuke Nakamura comes in, and they all looks like they're celebrating backstage. Sami Zayn is backstage. He runs into Madcap Moss and Ricochet. Both run down verbally Sami Zayn, and then Sami says, when you disrespect him, you are disrespecting the entire bloodline. And then Ricochet looks like he's about to reply, but Solo Sikoa comes to his aid and beats the living shit out of both Madcap Moss and Ricochet. So they're really playing forward with this whole Solo Sikoa and Sami Zayn quote-unquote relationship that they're having right here. They're kind of having some sort of bond, which I'm absolutely loving. And again, this whole Sami Zayn storyline with the bloodline is absolutely perfect. Everything that they're doing is just amazing. We get a very good video package of the Usos. Of course, that's ahead of their match that they're going to have with the Brawling Brutes, which was a fantastic match overall. We got the New Day versus the Maximum Male Models. This was a very quick match. I do not know why the Maximum Male Models had offense in this match. They should have just been jobbed. But overall, normal match, quick match. The New Day got the win. We got a roll-up by Woods. Mace tags in. He kicks Woods. We get a cover into near fall. Mace is in the corner. We get a double team by the Maximum Male Models. Monsoor as the legal man. He hits the elbow drop, but then Woods regains control. Mace tags again, but then he boots Kofi. He picks up Woods and then slams him, but then drops his elbow. We get a cover into near fall, but then Kofi takes both out from behind when the models were taking photos. Woods manages to get the roll up and gets the win. The New Day win this match. Overall, okay, it was the New Day win. And then Max Dupree gets pissed off, and he is arguing with both Mace and Mansoor and Maxine, his kayfabe sister. So after that, Max Dupree is pissed, and he leaves, and it looks like it's the end of Max Dupree, and we're going to be entering LA Knight. Overall thoughts on this whole thing that transpired? Please end the Maximum Male Models. It's very cringeworthy, and whoever came up with that idea, I'm sorry. I don't know why they came up with that idea, but I like the fact that they're slowly teasing Max Dupree to come back as LA Knight, because he has been teasing LA Knight in many of his promos. So it's great to see that, because people don't realize how good Eli Drake or LA Knight is. The guy is definitely charismatic. The guy's got the, as a lot of experts would say, the it factor. So yeah, we're going to be getting LA Knight pretty soon on our television screens, which I'm definitely excited about. We get Hit Row along with a bunch of other wrestlers backstage once again. It looks like Los Lotharios try to, in a way, try to meet up with BFAB, but then Top Dollar enters the fray. Next thing you know, we got Braun Strowman versus Otis. Overall thoughts on this match. It was a pretty good match overall, surprisingly. Usually when it comes to these matches, I'm not really that keen on these types of matches. But overall, Braun Strowman and Otis definitely delivered a pretty entertaining match. Not only that, the crowd was actually very into this match. Like, ever since Braun Strowman came back, like, you may not be a fan of Braun Strowman, which I'm not really the biggest fan of Braun Strowman, but let's be realistic. When he came back, the crowd reaction that Braun Strowman has been getting, it has been really good. Let's be honest with ourselves. But the match starts. Both lock up. We get a knee by Strowman followed by a right hand. He throws Otis across the ring. He manages to hit a shotgun dropkick, taking Otis to the outside. After that, crap. Literally, my notes kind of just messed up. Holy shit. Jesus Christ, bro. My notes are whatever. So basically, Strowman goes back in the ring. He picks up Otis. Otis escapes. Otis manages to hit the world's strongest slam. We get a cover and a near fall. He hits the splash. We get a cover and a near fall again. Otis goes to the top. He misses the flying headbutt, but then Strowman immediately gets up. Then Strowman manages to powerbomb Otis. We get a cover, and Otis wins the match. So yeah, man, my apologies if I rushed a little bit. Literally, I accidentally pressed a button on my keyboard, which literally erased half of the notes that I took, which I'm literally boiling in the inside, but it is what it is. But for, the match overall itself, great match overall. It was a fun match to watch. Again, the crowd was definitely in to Braun Strowman and Otis, and, Braun Strowman, I definitely do see him doing a lot of things in the near future. We get a segment with the Brawling Brutes, says that they will beat the Usos and become the new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions, and talks about how the Bloodline are facing an uphill battle. And then Sheamus manages to mention Gunther and says he announces Sheamus versus Gunther 2 in 2 weeks on the season premiere of SmackDown, which, holy shit, I'm absolutely really excited about, because if you guys haven't watched Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash at the Castle, please, everybody, watch that fucking match, because that match was probably the best match of the entire night. I'm not joking, man. Gunther and Sheamus delivered an absolute banger. If you want a match that, is a legit banger, as a lot of people would say, this is the match for you, and they're going to absolutely tear the house down in 2 weeks, because let's be honest with ourselves, Sheamus has gotten super over ever since that match. Sheamus has been more over than ever. Okay, Sheamus has been super over, and every time when Sheamus and Gunther are literally in the same predicament, even if they do a small face-off, the crowd would just stand up on their feet and give a standing ovation, because they know they're in for something very special. And that's what I really enjoy, and they're going to tear the house down once again in 2 weeks on SmackDown. We get a Drew McIntyre segment. He says, "Salt Lake City, let me hear you scream. After all these years, everybody should know him pretty well, and if they have an issue with him, they can stand up to him in this ring and figure things out." Cross never got that memo. He'd rather jump him from behind again, and again. It's good news for him, because he's now going to have his first big match at Extreme Rules, and he has a belt in his hand, or a strap in his hand. And he says it's going to be McIntyre versus Cross in a strap match at Extreme Rules. But then Scarlett comes out. Cross appears from behind, and Drew catches him. So it looked like Cross was about to attack him from behind. After that, he sends him to the corner post. It looks like Drew is actually going to gain the advantage. Drew straps Cross, and then after that, he runs into a boot, and then he hits him repeatedly with the strap multiple times. Cross tries to escape, but then Drew continues to beat the shit out of him. After that, Scarlett then shields Cross, and then she manages to throw a fireball. Now, a lot of people were talking about this, how the fireball throw was actually kind of botched, but I completely ignore that. I didn't really care about that, but I love the fact that she threw the fireball. That's really all that matters. And then Cross manages to attack him. After that, Drew hits the spinebuster, but then Scarlett hits the low blow. But then after that, it looks like he will leave, but then Cross comes back and hits the cross jacket, and then, what do you know? He basically has Drew McIntyre go to sleep. So we got Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross in a strap match at Extreme Rules. Again, this is what I like about WWE and how they're building up Extreme Rules. Again, I've stated this earlier in this review. The fact that, we're actually getting a bunch of stipulations for a show that's actually called Extreme Rules is, in a way, to me, as a fan watching, very, interesting, because of the fact that the Extreme Rules pay-per-view has been completely irrelevant for the past couple of years. Let's be honest with ourselves. Extreme Rules has been a shit show. It has not been that good of a pay-per-view, and it doesn't embody the word extreme at all. So I love the fact that WWE is actually, adding stipulations for Extreme Rules. We would get an Extreme Rules match with Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. Now we got a strap match between both, we got the strap match between Cross and Drew McIntyre, and we also got the fight pit match between Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. So, stuff like that. I love the fact that they're doing these types of stipulations, and they're adding all these stipulations on these matches, because it makes the matches more intriguing, and it makes the stories that much better. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, after that, we got we got Raquel Rodriguez versus Dakota Kai. Very quick match with the wrong outcome, in my opinion. Basically, what happens is Raquel throws Dakota to the turnbuckle. Raquel then counters the scorpion kick, but then Dakota hits the scorpion kick manages to hit the scorpion kick. She drives the boot into the corner, but then Shotzi comes in and she attacks Bayley. Io Shirai enters the fray, but then Raquel rolls up Dakota and wins the match. Yes, Dakota Kai, who's one half of your women's tag team champions, gets pinned. Not really the right decision to make, but it is what it is. Hit Row's backstage. Los Lotharios manages to hit the super kick on Hit Row, and there's a brawl that happens, and there's also a hidden QR code. Now, this has been a common occurrence for the past couple of weeks, and I'm talking about, if you guys do not know, I'm talking about the White Rabbit. So the White Rabbit is this thing where WWE is... And this is the second time that they've been doing this stuff. So, of course, if you guys do not remember when Dexter Lumis made his debut on the main roster, throughout the episode of Raw, they were kind of giving you Easter eggs of the whole build-up towards Dexter Lumis's debut, of course, with the whole car crashing and stuff. They would have literally like somebody, they would have a backstage interview, and you would see some like shit going down behind them far off. This is something similar. Now, what they're doing is they're literally hiding QR codes that you can scan, like during backstage segments. And what's going on is when you enter this, QR code, when you scan it, it leads you to this, hidden message of, who killed the world, or all that stuff. And, it shows this White Rabbit. Now, also at the same time as this is going on, you also have WWE either, during like commercial breaks, if you're in the actual event, or if you're in house shows, they're playing White Rabbit, which is the song that they're playing. And, it's been a common occurrence for the past couple of weeks. So a lot of people are speculating, what are they doing? Now, there's many different scenarios that they can go with this. I think of two things when you think of the White Rabbit, because if you actually look at the teasers, that, you actually do see a hourglass. And of course, who embodies the hourglass? That's Karrion Kross. I don't think it's Karrion Kross. Now, a lot of people are thinking that it's Karrion Kross's faction. I believe it's what he has a faction, because I believe he did have a faction in Lucha Underground. I didn't watch Lucha Underground, so bear with me here, but I believe he did have a faction in Lucha Underground. But also, the tease is actually speculating that it could possibly be Bray Wyatt, and he will be officially returning to the WWE. Honestly, I genuinely believe that this is going to be Bray Wyatt, considering the fact that I feel like right now, at this stage of the game, the best place for him to go is not AEW, and the best place that he could possibly go is WWE, because of the fact that there's new management there, and because of the fact that I feel like Triple H would definitely know how to utilize them much, much better, because Tony Khan has a lot of shit on his plate. And let's be honest with ourselves right here. I don't think right now Bray Wyatt going to AEW is really the right move to go. Not only that, Tony Khan's going to have to pay him a shit ton of money to sign him to AEW. So I definitely do think it's going to be Bray Wyatt. But who knows? It could possibly be a new faction for Karrion Kross, because they kind of did a similar faction in Lucha Underground, but I believe it was a different type of faction. I should be doing research on this, but I'm not really that familiar with Lucha Underground, so bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I genuinely think it's going to be Bray Wyatt, and he's going to be making his return to the WWE. But one thing I very, much enjoy about this whole thing is, they're having the fans engage, and, they're having the fans, figure out what these clues actually mean. And this is what, basically WWE has been doing ever since Triple H took over. Of course, they did the whole Dexter Lumis thing, which was flat out amazing. And now they're doing this with the whole White Rabbit thing, which I'm not gonna lie, it's intriguing me, and it's getting me interested. There was this other time where, like, I think it was this particular episode where I believe the first QR code that they showed, I think it was a couple of weeks ago or last week. If you scanned it, they showed a time that said 9:23, and 9:23, of course, was either the time or the date, because this episode of SmackDown was September 23rd, 2022, but. Unfortunately, 9:23 hit, and it was during commercial break, so they definitely missed out on that. But again, I love the speculation within the fandom, and I love what WWE's is basically doing. I think they're doing a fantastic job with this whole thing. But yeah, after that, let's talk about this fantastic main event between the Usos and the Brawling Brutes. Yes, we got the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes in a WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championship main event match. Of course, the Brawling Brutes did defeat they defeated 3 other teams last week on SmackDown in a fantastic Fatal 4-Way tag match, which led to this match that we have right here. Butch goes straight for the attack on Jey Uso. Rich Holland then makes the tag. We get a double team by the Brawling Brutes. After that, Jimmy goes for the high kick. Jey gains the advantage, but then Jimmy tags in. Then we get a couple of right hands by Rich Holland. We get a double team by the Usos, but then Holland gains control. Butch then tags in. He goes to the top, and then he hits a stomp on Jey. Both then take Jimmy, and then they go for the 10 beats of the bell ring. After that, we get a shot to the back of Jimmy by Butch, taking him to the outside. Holland then gets taken to the outside, but then the Usos hit a backdrop on Butch on the top rope first. Then after that, Jey sends Butch into the corner barricade. After that, Jey Uso gets pissed off by Sami Zayn because Sami Zayn is trying to go for the distraction, but then, of course, it is interfering with all the things that the Usos are trying to do, so Jey is, of course, pissed off. Jimmy then tags in. Both Usos double plant Butch down to the mat. We get a cover into near fall. Once we're back from commercial break, Butch fights off the Usos. Jimmy goes for the enziguri. After that, we get a cover into near fall, but then Jey makes the tag. Jey then right hands Butch, but then Sami Zayn tries to attack him onto the outside. At this point, the referee actually sees it. Jey gets pissed off, but then Jey goes back into the ring, but then Butch takes him out. Holland then tags in, but then he works on Jimmy and Jey. We got a super kick by Jey, followed by a right hand. Holland then goes for the tilt-a-whirl slam, but then we get a cover into near fall. Then they run into a right. After that, we get a Samoan drop by Jimmy, followed by a running boot by Butch. So at this point, it's spot after spot after spot. Then we get a right hand by Jimmy, but then Jimmy goes to the outside, but then Jey tags in. We get a moonsault on Jimmy by Butch onto the outside, which leads to Butch to go in the ring. He follows up by a German suplex. Then we get a double stomp by Butch, followed by a kick to the back of the neck of Jey Uso. We get a cover and a near fall. After that, we get a stomp by Butch, and then we get a kick by Jimmy. We get a super kick by Jey, followed by a double super kick. Butch then goes to the second rope, and then he manages to hit the moonsault. After that, he lands the double super kick, and we get a cover and a near fall. The Butch then counters the 1D attempt by the Usos. After that, he counters into the DDT, which was probably an amazing-ass spot. Butch then targets the fingers of Jey Uso. Holland then tags in, and Holland wants to go for the Alabama Slam on Jey Uso, but then Jimmy goes for the boot. At this point, he's the legal man, but then Ridge takes both Usos and picks them up and drops them both. Butch then tags in. We get a kick and a slam combination. We get a cover and a near fall. And then Sammy grabs the chair, but then what happens? Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci enter the fray. Imperium comes in, and they proceed to attack Sheamus. Then that leads to the Usos to hit the double super kick on the Brutes. After that, they manage to hit the 1D, the one and done. We get a cover, and Jimmy and Jey, the Usos, retain the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships. Overall thoughts on this match. This match was fantastic. From last week, from when the Brawling Brutes won, I knew for a fact that this match was going to be an absolute banger, and this match absolutely did not disappoint. Let's be honest with ourselves. It was a fantastic match overall. Not only that, everybody got their chance to shine, and that's really, if you think about it, that's the most important thing coming out of any type of match. Everybody gets a chance to shine, and, at this point, the Brawling Brutes are really, for me, watching SmackDown, really, the Brawling Brutes are one of the things that I'm really starting to get behind of course, because of the Sheamus and Gunther match. But, I knew for a fact Imperium was actually going to be interfering in this match. So that will, of course, lead us to the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. That would also, of course, has Sheamus versus Gunther in 2 weeks on SmackDown. But, this feud between the Brawling Brutes and Imperium is absolutely fantastic. But overall thoughts on SmackDown. I thought SmackDown overall was a fantastic show, in my opinion. It wasn't a bad show overall. SmackDown, I'm starting to take a liking of. Like, this week was really, really good, especially that opening segment. That opening segment was absolutely amazing. This whole storyline that WWE is doing with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline is just, it's just brilliance. And as a lot of people would say, just overall fantastic and, compelling. But that was my SmackDown review from September 23rd, 2022. Before we get on with the AEW Rampage Grand Slam review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Wrestle Havoc podcast is also available, if you guys do not already know. It's available on audio platforms. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the Wrestle Havoc podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. The link will be in the description below. And also, if you guys did not check out my AEW Dynamite Grand Slam review, I talk about a lot. I talk about Jericho winning the ROH World title, of course, Moxley versus Danielson, and why, it was a win-win situation on who should win the World Championship. And of course, that's going to lead to MJF eventually winning the AEW World Championship. So the AEW Dynamite Grand Slam review will be in the link in the description below as well. All right, let's talk about AEW Rampage Grand Slam. Grand Slam, of course, happened on Wednesday, and I thought Grand Slam was a fantastic show. Grand Slam this past Wednesday was fantastic. Now, did Rampage live up to that hype? Now, I think so. I thought this is one of the most better Rampages, and they definitely stacked up this week's Rampage, of course, because of the fact that Rampage this week is a 2-hour show, which realistically, if you think about it, it should be a 2-hour show almost every week in a better time slot, because let's be honest, a 2-hour show at 10 o'clock after you just watched a 2-hour wrestling show, to me, I'm gonna be honest, is very much overkill. I appreciate them trying their best to, give you the best show possible for a show that's on a very, very shitty time slot. But again, at the same time, it's overkill because of the fact that you have a lot of those viewers that just watch SmackDown. That is just me. Now, granted, it's not AEW's fault because it's stuff that is out of their control because, of course, that was, the time slot was the time slot that was given to them by TNT. But, man, we had a lot of great things that happened on this show. We had the House of Black, of course, that being Buddy Matthews and Brody King versus Sting and Darby Allin, which you would have the Great Muta actually come in for the save in the end. Of course, the Great Muta is one of Sting's greatest rivals. We had Axtion Bronson in action. Of course, Axtion Bronson, if you guys do not know who Axtion Bronson is the man that plays the Chairman's Intent, which is Hook's theme song. We had Wardlow and Samoa Joe versus Tony Nese and Josh Woods. Ray Phoenix versus Jungle Boy, which is a great match as well. We had Eddie Kingston versus Sammy Guevara. We had the Golden Ticket Battle Royal, which of course had Hangman win the match. And of course we had Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs in the rematch from All Out. So overall, Rampage was not a bad show whatsoever. In fact, it was a pretty good show. Now, granted, I always state this every week on Rampage. Rampage needs to be live every week. It's just given. You have to have Rampage be live every week because then it can create more interest within the show. Because if you have the show live almost every week, you'll definitely have those guaranteed viewers watching every week. If you tape the show on a weekly basis, in which that's what AEW is doing, realistically, a lot of the fans are just going to look at the spoilers, and also if a show is taped, there's really nothing special that happens on a taped wrestling show. That's just what it is. But overall, Rampage Grand Slam was not a bad show whatsoever. In fact, I actually enjoyed this show. All right, we got the House of Black and Sting versus Darby Allin. Darby and Sting are behind the House of Black when they make their entrance. So again, this match was absolutely insane. They went swinging as soon as this show went on the air. King throws Darby in the ring. Sting is working on Buddy Matthews. Matthews then sends Sting to the steel steps, and then we get a chop by Brody King by Darby Allin. Darby then goes on the top rope, but then King chops Darby onto the outside. Brody then works on Sting. He manages to slam Sting, and then Sting fights off the House of Black. We get a spinning kick by Buddy Matthews. Sting actually no-sells it because he's Sting and he is awesome. We get a Stinger Splash by Sting. We get a kick by accident by by Brody King, I should say, by accident clotheslines Buddy Matthews. Then Sting goes for the Scorpion Death Drop attempt, but King fights back. He takes Sting to the top, but then Darby comes up. Darby goes for a beautiful code red off the top. We get a cover and a near fall. After that, we get a suicide dive countered by Buddy Matthews. At this point, a table is set up onto the outside, but then Matthews and Sting are on the apron. Sting is on the top, but then Matthews gets set up. After that, Sting gets pushed through both tables, and there were two tables set on the outside. It looked like when Sting went through the first table, his head hit the other table, which looked absolutely brutal for a man that is Sting's age. You know, for the age that Sting is, man, this dude is taking crazy ass bumps. But hey, man, they call him Sting for a reason. He is the icon for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. So he gets pushed through the table. Then Sting gets taken into the ring, but then Julia Hart comes in with handcuffs. After that, we are back from commercial break. The house is on the stage. They try to hit the Dante's Inferno on the stage, but Darby manages to escape. They send one of the members on the tunnel, but then Darby climbs up the stage and he goes to the top. He hits the coffin drop on the stage on Matthews, which looked insane. Brody then hits a right on Darby, but then he picks up Darby. He tries to throw Darby off the stage, but then Darby escapes. Then he hits the coffin splash, but then lands into a choke by Brody King. Both then fall off the stage, but then Brody King hits a baseball bat, or I should say has a baseball bat. Darby at this point is busted open. Sting is busted open, so once there's blood involved in the match, you know shit's going down. After that, Matthews sets up the chair. He sits down Sting while he is handcuffed, so Sting can't do anything about it. The lights go out. The Great Muta shows up, who is one of Sting's greatest rivals of all time. He comes in the ring, he faces off with Sting, but then turns around and hits the dragon screw on Matthews, and then he spits the green mist on Buddy Matthews. Sting actually manages to break free by himself because, again, he is Sting, and then he hits the Scorpion Death Drop, and Sting and Darby Allin win the match. Overall thoughts, this match was absolutely fantastic. A great way to open Rampage Grand Slam for a show that is taped. I loved the fact that they are trying to add quality into this show, and they definitely showed when it came to this match. And I love the involvement of Great Muta as well. Great Muta's involvement was fantastic. All right, we now got Axtion Bronson and Hook versus Matt Menard and Angelo Parker of 2.0, also a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society. 2.0, of course, the epitome of sports entertainment. Axtion Bronson sings Hook's theme song, The Chairman's Intent, of course, down to the ring. One thing I will say about this match, man, is Axtion Bronson looked absolutely fantastic in this match, man. You know, when it comes to celebrities in wrestling, you know, for the past couple of, Bad Bunny did it so, like, Bad Bunny was great at WrestleMania. I actually saw that live because I was actually at WrestleMania 37 Night 1. Bad Bunny looked great. Logan Paul is absolutely fantastic in the ring, and Axtion Bronson is no different. Axtion Bronson, man, the way, I was watching the match, and you know what intrigued me the most about Axtion Bronson was the way he ran the ropes. This dude ran the ropes mad hard, bro. Like, he ran the ropes like crazy. But overall, this was a great match. So Hook and Parker start. We get a boot by Parker on Hook. Hook then takes him down. Hook then throws him down. Bronson makes the tag, but then Matt tags in. Both push each other, but then Bronson no-sells. Then after that, he runs the ropes really good, as I've stated earlier. He works on 2.0, but then Hook makes the tag. We get a Northern Light suplex by the cold-hearted, handsome devil Hook on Matt Menard. But then Parker goes for a kick on Hook. At this point, the heels gain the advantage. We get a running knee strike by Parker, and then we get a cover and a near fall. Then Parker goes for the drop kick. At this point, the heels are in control. We get a snap suplex by Angelo Parker, but then Matt tags in. Both send Hook into the corner, and then we get an elbow drop by Parker. We get a cover and a near fall, followed by a double clothesline by Matt, or I should say, on Hook, I should say. Hook then goes for the overhead throw on Parker. Bronson then tags in. Bronson goes for the shoulder tackle, and that was something he's been constantly doing throughout the entirety of that whole match. He picks up Parker and drops him down. He hits the pounce on Angelo Parker. Hook then tags in. We get the overhead throw by Hook. Then he applies the red rum. Of course, that is his submission. Then Bronson applies the red rum on Matt Menard. So both Hook and Axtion Bronson have the red rum applied all at the same time on both members of 2.0. And Axtion Bronson and Hook win the match. Overall thoughts on this match? Great match overall. I love the fact that Axtion Bronson actually managed to work this match really well. Not only that, Hook, as always, man, Hook is the, of course, current FTW champion. And this dude is absolutely killing it, and he is going to be a major star in the near future. Mark my fucking words. But overall, this match was great. We get Wardlow, the TNT champion, and Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor World Television champion, versus Tony Nese and Josh Woods. This match did not take long whatsoever. Both brawl right off the get-go. Woods and Wardlow exchange shots. We get a German suplex by Woods on Wardlow. Then Wardlow manages to hit the belly-to-belly suplex on Josh Woods. Then he does it again. We get a running knee blocked by Josh Woods. Wardlow then clotheslines Woods onto the outside. Tony Nese is in the ring. We get repeated rights by Samoa Joe. He runs into the back elbow, and then Nese goes for I completely messed up my notes right there. So he goes to the top. So I remember now. So Nese goes to the top, and this is the funniest shit ever. You know, you guys know how Samoa Joe works. You know, every time when somebody goes to the top, if they try to get hit, you know, a crazy ass move. So I believe Nese tried to go for the Tompe con Hero, and he manages to actually hit the move, but missed because Samoa Joe, being Samoa Joe, as always, does his famous walk-off. I swear to God, that shit is always funny. When every time when Samoa Joe does shit like that, because he's been doing it since like the beginning of his career. He's been doing that shit throughout his whole career. When he was in TNA, when he was in Ring of Honor, he's been doing that shit the entire time, man. I love the fact that Joe does that. But, of course, Joe walks off. He hits the Uranagi on Nese. He takes Nese to the top, but then he manages to hit the Muscle Buster. We got a cover, and Joe wins the match. But then Josh Woods attacks Samoa Joe. The heels gain the advantage. Wardlow then comes in and he takes out Nese, and he hits the Powerbomb Symphony. But then what happens is Sterling is behind him, and they're and Smart Mark Sterling, being the asshole he is, and he's surrounded by not Josh Woods, Samoa Joe and Wardlow. Wardlow hits the Powerbomb Symphony, and Joe and Sterling, you know, Joe and Wardlow, I should say, are, you know, they beat the shit out of Smart Mark Sterling. Okay, that's all I gotta say. But overall, this was a pretty good match overall. Jungle Boy versus Rey Fenix, a great match as well. I definitely enjoyed it. Overall, you know, this I feel like was after the Phoenix and Jungle Boy match. I kind of felt like I was getting a little tired, mainly because of the fact that, again, the show is on a shitty time slot. Like, especially if the show is 2 hours, you're gonna get burnt the fuck out. But overall, you know, Jungle Boy and Rey Fenix did a fantastic job. We get a high kick by Phoenix. Jungle Boy's on the top. We get a head scissors by Jack. We get a drop kick by Jack Perry. We get an overhand chop by Phoenix. Phoenix then takes him down to the mat, walking onto the top rope. Both then exchange shots. We get a chop by Jack Perry. After that, Phoenix takes him down to the mat. We get a chop by Jack Perry. We get a spinning heel kick by Phoenix once we're back from commercial break. We get an overhand chop by Jungle Boy. Both then exchange overhand chops. Jack Perry goes for the forearms, but then he picks up Phoenix, but then Phoenix escapes. Jungle Boy then goes for the lariat. After that, he manages to hit the brainbuster, followed by a suicide dive. Phoenix then goes back into the ring. We get a thrust kick by Jungle Boy. Then Jungle Boy actually hits the Poison Rana. So he hits the Poison Rana, but then Phoenix counters with a beautiful cutter. After that, both then exchange shots. Jack then goes for the reverse head scissors, followed by a thrust kick, but then Jack misses to hit the misses the lariat and onto the back of the neck of Phoenix. Both are on the apron, but then Phoenix then drops him onto the apron. Both are on the apron, but then Jack tries to powerbomb Phoenix onto the outside. Phoenix escapes, and then he kicks him onto the apron. Phoenix then falls into a thrust kick onto the outside. Once we're back from break, both continue to exchange shots. We get a bunch of kicks and rights by Rey Fenix. He drives his knee on Jack Perry. Then after that, he drops him with a modified cutter. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Phoenix then goes for the corkscrew kick. Phoenix is on the top, but then he manages to hit the sunset. Jack comes in, but then Jungle Boy hits the sunset flip powerbomb. After that, he hits the elbow onto the back of the neck of Phoenix. We get a cover into near fall, boot by Phoenix, and then followed by a thrust kick. Phoenix goes for the Three Amigos. Nice little trippy right there to Eddie Guerrero. So he goes for the Three Amigos. Jack counters the third Amigo. After that, he picks up Phoenix and hits the Cradle Shock. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. Jungle Boy goes to the top, but then Phoenix takes him down. Then Phoenix goes to the top, and then he manages to hit the Frog Splash. After that, we get a cover and a near fall, but then Jungle Boy goes to the top on the shoulders of Phoenix. Jack goes for the inside cradle. Jack wins the match. Both shake hands, and this is where the shit really kicks in. So after this fantastic match between both Ray and Jungle Boy, Christian Cage comes in, and he comes out. Luchasaurus is behind Jack. He takes out Jungle Boy and plants Jungle Boy down to the mat. Christian Cage then cuts a promo. Cage says, New York makes him smile, and they're loud and obnoxious, and that's all that they are. You know, he tells them all to sit down like the bitches that they are while they conduct their business. And speaking of bitches, he jumped him like a coward. He squashed his ass. And, you know, he will never one-up him, and he will never beat him. It's his final warning. He takes away his right arm, and he will introduce him to his right-hand man. I actually liked that line. You know, he takes away his right arm, and then, you know, if you take away my right arm, I'll give you my right-hand man. Of course, his right-hand man is Luchasaurus. He wishes that his mom and sister are witnessing he wishes that his mom and sister are witnessing this for the last time, and he tells Luchasaurus to end him right now, and then he chokeslams Jungle Boy. So this whole feud between Jungle Boy and Christian Cage is not over. Now, granted, Christian Cage is currently injured, but we do not know how long. I honestly do not know how long he's going to be out, but it looks like he's going to be out for a while. But it looks like this feud is still going on. Jericho's backstage. Of course, this is, backstage at Dynamite. Jericho's backstage and says that he will give a Jericho Appreciation Championship celebration. So that's going to be a very interesting segment to happen on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. Of course, Jericho is the new Ring of Honor World Champion, defeating Claudio Castagnoli this past Wednesday on TBS on Dynamite. We got Eddie Kingston versus Sammy Guevara. Of course, this whole feud is kind of in a way boiling from real life because Eddie Kingston actually got legitimately suspended because, as the reports stated, he pie-faced Sammy Guevara. But Sammy cuts a promo before his match, and he says, man to man, from the bottom of his heart, he is sorry. He wasn't man enough to tell him this before, and he calls him a fat piece of shit. Of course, that's a little nod to the main reason as to why Eddie Kingston got suspended in the first place. It's because of the fact that Sammy Guevara did some sort of fat shaming thing on a Rampage taping, and then that led to Eddie Kingston getting pissed. And when Eddie Kingston gets pissed, shit's gonna go down. But this wasn't a short match overall. This was a short match, but it wasn't bad at all. After that, so the match starts. Kingston goes straight for the attack. Kingston then chops Sammy. Sammy goes for repeated rights. Kingston then pokes the eye of Sammy. He chops Sammy. Sammy goes to the apron and then he tries to powerbomb him, but then Sammy counters with a back body drop on Eddie Kingston, followed by a running kick. Once we're back from break, we get a snap suplex by Sammy Guevara. Sammy then goes to the top, and then he misses the 450 splash and lands on his knees. We get a back elbow by Kingston, and then Ty Conti goes for the distraction. After that, we get a running knee by Sammy Guevara, followed by an Enziguri. After that, we get a double springboard cutter by Sammy Guevara. We get a cover and a near fall. After that, Sammy picks up Kingston for the fourth time, but Kingston escapes, and then he hits the lariat, or not the fourth time, the GTH, my apologies. He has repeated chops by Kingston in the corner. Literally, when I wrote GTH in my notes, I literally by accident wrote fourth, my dumbass. We get repeated chops by Kingston into the corner. He sends Sammy to the corner. Kingston then runs a boot, but then Kingston counters with the double springboard cutter with the backdrop driver. After that, Kingston misses the spinning back fist. We get a knee strike by Sammy. We get a kick by Sammy, and then Sammy picks up Kingston. After that, Kingston escapes and hits the half-and-half suplex, and then he hits the spinning back fist, then a second, then a third. slaps Sammy, applies the somewhat of a stretch submission, and then Kingston wins the match, but then doesn't let go of the submission, which leads to security and Jerry Lynn coming in, and then the referee actually reverses the decision, so Sammy Guevara wins the match. So it looks like this feud is not over, but we're going to have to wait and see what they do here. But overall, great match overall. That's realistically nothing else to say. At this point, again, the show, in a way, watching the show wise, I kind of started to get a little bit kind of burnt out. I was like, okay, this is just too much wrestling. Because you got 4 hours of wrestling on a Friday night. It's just way too much. Jade Cargill versus Diamante for the TBS Championship. This match did not last long at all. Diamante goes for a couple of kicks onto the leg of Jade. We get a knee by Jade, followed by an uppercut. We get a couple of chops and strikes by Diamante in the corner. We get a shotgun dropkick by Diamante, followed by repeated rights. Jade then picks her up, and then Diamante goes for the roll-up, and we get a near fall. She goes for the roll-up once again, but then we get a near fall. Jade manages to go for the pump kick. Then Diamante fires back with a chop block. Then after that, we get a baseball slide by Diamante. Diamante goes to the top, and then she hits the crossbody, but then Jade catches her. She picks up Diamante, and she drops her onto the apron face first. Then she picks up Diamante for the one and only Jaded cover 1, 2, 3, and Jade Cargill retains the TBS Championship, and she is 38-0. Now the question is, who is going to dethrone Jade Cargill? Because Jade Cargill won the TBS Championship January 5th of 2022. I was there when she won the TBS Championship. Now, who the heck is going to stop Jade? That's the question that I'm going to ask AEW. What are you guys going to do? Who are you going to build up to dethrone Jade? Because at the end of the day, Jade is not going to hold on to that TBS Championship forever. Because once she drops that TBS Championship, she's going to go straight for the women's title. And you know for a fact she's actually going to be winning the women's championship. But again, who is going to beat Jade? I don't see anybody that is being built up to dethrone Jade. That is something that AEW realistically need to work on. All right. We got the Golden Ticket Battle Royal. Hangman makes his entrance, but Roosh, Blade, and Butcher attack Hangman. So, overall thoughts on this Battle Royal. It was a fun little Battle Royal. Of course, the winner would face the new AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley, in Cincinnati. I believe Dynamite is going to be in Cincinnati. It's going to be a special Tuesday episode of Dynamite, so they're going to be going head-to-head with NXT. The instead of the Wednesday Night Wars, the Tuesday Night Wars eventually will return. The Dark Order make the save. Once we're back from break, the match starts. Daivari gets eliminated. Danhausen tries to curse Cole Carter, but then gets eliminated by Trent Beretta. The Best Friends then hug. QT then attacks them, but then Danhausen tries to curse QT, but then QT shoves them. Both brawl. Hangman then tries to eliminate QT, but then QT holds on. Danhausen and Hangman eliminate QT later on in the match. Lethal's in the ring. He tries to go for the lethal injection. I'm not going to go through this whole battle royal because there's just so much shit that happened all at the same time. And not only that, I'm getting seriously tired. And it's almost been an hour. Seriously. Covering two 2-hour shows is ridiculous all in the same show. But Hangman, Roosh and Hangman actually were the final two. But, Hangman manages to hit the Deadeye onto the apron, which will lead Hangman to actually win the Golden Ticket Battle Royal. What are my thoughts on Hangman getting the title shot? Is he going to be winning the championship? Absolutely not, but I do see him wrestling a great match against Hangman Page, because I don't actually think, if I can recall, Hangman Page and Jon Moxley haven't wrestled a singles match at all. So this match is definitely going to be very, very, very intriguing, to say the least. I'm definitely excited. A lot of people criticize Hangman Page's run as AEW World Champion earlier this year, but one thing I will say is that Hangman, I actually liked Hangman's title reign. I liked his title reign, but one thing I will say is Hangman's title reign, man, what the best thing to come out of that title reign were the matches that Hangman Page has had. So anytime Hangman Page is in a main event type match, the dude will give it 110%. All right, we got Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a lights out match. Overall thoughts, Of course, this was the rematch that happened at All Out. Of course, at All Out, they wrestled in a relatively short match. And usually for the middle of the All Out card, that's what it kind of was. Like, some of the matches kind of like felt like rushed through. But it was a scenario in which, I felt like, with All Out, I felt like the show flowed much better than like Double or Nothing. Because like Double or Nothing, you were like, oh my God, why is this match on the pay-per-view? It shouldn't be on the pay-per-view. It should be on TV. Blah, 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 blah. But you got Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a lights out match. So both fight it out. We get a takedown by Starks. He goes after Hobbs. Hobbs then goes to the outside, but then Hobbs takes Starks to the post, but then slides away. Starks then takes him out. He sends Hobbs onto the steel steps, but then Hobbs picks up Starks. He drives him with a backbreaker. Then Hobbs takes the table, and then he hits it on Starks. Hobbs then takes out chairs from under the ring. Once we're back from commercial break, Hobbs then sets up the chair into the corner. He picks up Starks and then drives Starks onto the chair into the corner. Then Starks escapes, and then Hobbs runs and lands headfirst onto the chair into the other corner because he actually he put two chairs in each corner. After that, Starks goes for the Tornado DDT. We get a cover and a near fall. He goes for the low blow on Hobbs. Hobbs then tries to drive Starks on two chairs, but then Starks escapes and hits the low blow. Then both chairs are set up back from break. Then after that, Starks tries to hit the Rochambeau, but then Hobbs counters and hits the backdrop on Starks, and Starks actually lands onto both edges of the chair. Since earlier, a couple of moments ago in the match, the chairs were actually pointed between their backs. So Starks landed onto the edges of the chair, which looked absolutely painful. Hobbs then picks up Starks, and he goes for the running power slam on the chairs. We get a cover and a near fall. Starks and Hobbs at this point are on the ramp. Both fight it out on the stage, and then Starks tries to hit the spear, but then Hobbs escapes and lands onto the side of the tunnel. After that, Hobbs then takes out the light fixture from the tunnel, but then Hobbs misses. Starks then spears Hobbs through the table. He hits him with the right and then goes for the Rochambeau cover, and Ricky Starks wins the match. Overall thoughts on this match: great main event match to close Rampage overall. Ricky Starks got his win back. Now the question is, what are they going to be doing with Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs in the near future? Do I see this feud going on, or are they going to go their separate ways? That is a question that needs to be, answered, in my opinion. And another thing, I genuinely believe that in the near future, these two will feud for the TNT Championship. I definitely do see that being the case, because this may be a hot take, but I genuinely believe the man to beat Wardlow for the TNT Championship is a guy that is just like him, and that dude is Powerhouse Hobbs. So Powerhouse Hobbs beating Wardlow is actually not a bad idea at all, but we're going to have to wait and see in the near future. But yeah, that was my AEW Rampage review, or I should say my SmackDown and Rampage reviews from September 23rd, 2022. We're well over an hour at this point. It's an hour and 2 minutes I'm filming this review. But overall thoughts on both shows. SmackDown was a great show overall. Again, I'm really starting to enjoy SmackDown overall, and I'm loving the storyline development that they're doing when it comes to the Bloodline and Sami Zayn. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Rampage Grand Slam, even though I thought it was probably one of the better Rampages that they had, again, the show needs to be live every week. Not only that, having the show be 2 hours after, you just watch a 2-hour wrestling show, again, it's out of AEW's control, I know, but still, that plays into a factor, and I kind of get burnt out after that. But overall, Rampage was a relatively good show. I definitely enjoyed Rampage for what it was, and it was definitely one of the better Rampages that we have gotten. And, in good news for Rampage is actually going to be live for the foreseeable future next month. It looks like, I believe, next month when they're going to Toronto, and the month after that in November, Rampage for most weeks is actually going to be live. So I love the fact that they're doing that, because of the fact that Rampage definitely needs work. But yeah, that was my Rampage Grand Slam and SmackDown reviews from September 23rd, 2022. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for more notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc podcast on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the Squared Circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Wrestle Havoc podcast is also available, as you guys know, on audio platforms. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the Wrestle Havoc podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. So as always, it is Wrestle Havoc. It's Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out.